Howdy guys. So this week I want to talk about, drumroll please, I can't do that to save my life. Anyways, mental health. I think this is a very important topic that we really need to open the conversation to. I know many people, I think, will joke about it and be like, oh, like I want to die, or like, oh, I fucking hate my life, or things like that. And that may or may not be a cry for help, or it just can be a joke. But the thing is, like, I guess for today's video, I just kind of wanted to address like a few things about mental health. Whether you are going through it, like if your mental health is like kind of like deteriorating, or your mental health is fine but you kind of feel like you can use a little pick-me-up. So I guess I'll start first with like just talking about like my experience, like I guess with mental health. Well, with terrible mental health, I guess you would say. But anyways, I think I've always really had like, I guess I struggled with emotions and feelings, and you know, as a young like woman, whatever, growing up in the Hispanic community, it's kind of hard talking about that kind of stuff, because you're kind of taught to like not cry, or like not show your emotions, or like just keep being strong and like just keep going basically. And I feel like that definitely affected me, like now that I'm an adult and I'm going through like so much stress and I have so many new experiences. I just kind of like struggle communicating with people about how I feel, and whether or not like I'm okay, or like just kind of disguising my emotions and just acting like everything's okay when it's not. I think a lot of us struggle with just kind of admitting that we're having trouble like with our mental health, or like just in general like asking for help, because you know, we're college students. It's kind of like the norm to be struggling and to be like not having sleep because of classes and late night studying, and like not eating, just like like I haven't eaten since like yesterday, but it's okay, we're just gonna drink that coffee and just keep going. And that's just capitalism at its best, because we tend to feel like we're just not useful if we're not like working ourselves to like the last bit. And I think that's really like, I think it's just really bad in general to have that kind of mentality, because we're humans, we need rest, it's okay to rest. And I see so many people pushing themselves like to the last, like kind of like, I can't do this anymore. And that's when like things tend to get really bad and everything just goes downhill. By the way, if you hear the door opening and closing, that's just my roommates. I can't do anything about it. So we're just gonna keep going with the video. Also, oh gosh, I lost my train of thought. So what happened to me was like, obviously, like I said, like growing up, I wasn't allowed to show my emotions, just kind of just bury everything, just bury everything. I know my counselor one time made like a metaphor, something like that, where like I had buried my things so much that basically I was just a fossil of what I was. And that's just, I kind of like think that's a really good way to kind of like compare how I felt, because I didn't feel like myself anymore. It was just kind of like a shell of what I was, because I wasn't allowed to be vulnerable and just kind of like, I don't know, be human. So eventually, like I went to CAPS, the Counseling and Psychological Services. So I did a support group. I hated that. Like I just felt like that did not help at all. It felt like a baby. I felt like they were talking to me so like, oh my gosh. And it's just kind of like, I'm an adult, you don't have to talk to me like that. But at the same time, I guess it's just kind of being like, sensitive to like people's emotions, because you don't know how they're gonna react to different kinds of like tones or things like that. But that wasn't for me. I eventually like began like individual counseling because it had gotten so bad that like I had to go to like crisis counseling twice during a semester, and I was on the verge of just kind of like being hospitalized because I was not sure whether or not I was going to hurt myself, and I had to kind of like promise to the crisis counselor that I wasn't going to do anything to harm myself, which I was like, oh yeah, no, like I'm not going to do that. But you know, once you go home and you're like, whatever, you know. And so during that time I had started taking Lexapro, which is an antidepressant. It's an SSRI. It helps just kind of like put like, I kind of do like this metaphor with my friend, how I told her, my friend Minerva, she's my only friend, I'll always talk about her. But basically the serotonin, it goes into your brain. It's just adding kind of like extra serotonin. But so Lexapro is just a serotonin inhibitor, and that wasn't enough for me, and so that wasn't working. So eventually, like after 2 months like of like kind of like suicidal thoughts and things like that, my doctor switched me to Effexor, and that worked a lot better for me. But by then, like my mental health was just so bad that like I needed an intervention. Like I needed to turn my life around, and it's just kind of like taking step by step. I ended up like dropping out of my anatomy class because I just could not do it anymore. I wanted to withdraw from the university. I just wanted to quit. I was done. I wanted to drop out. I did not care that I was first gen. I did not care that I was gonna home without a degree in my hand. I did not care about anything whatsoever. Like I was ready to just kind of like give up on life and just end it. Like, and I don't like talking about that too much because like I think back to that time and like how I just don't like thinking about how bad I felt about myself, and just how terrible, like how I was in such a terrible mental state that I was willing to like leave behind the people I love and my family and everything, because I was just in such a terrible place that I couldn't do it anymore. And I know like back then, like I was with my ex and he had to talk to me in phone calls and just kind of like not like talk me through like not hurting myself. And I think that really put a toll on like relationships, on our relationship, and just in general, like on him, and on me, because it made me feel guilty because I felt bad that I had to have somebody take care of myself. I thought like, how could a 19-year-old adult like not be able to like just take a shower, clean, have good hygiene, like just get out of bed? Like that's so easy and I can't do it. I felt so like dead inside that it was just like a daily struggle, like just to like get out of bed, brush my teeth, brush my hair, go to class. I stopped going to class. I didn't show up anymore. I was at a point where like if I went to class and I was with so many people, I had such bad like social anxiety that I would have a panic attack, and it was just no, I was not gonna go out of the house. I didn't even leave my room. I stopped talking to people. I wasn't in organizations. I just kind of like closed myself off. And even then, like I lost my scholarships. I lost 2 of my scholarships. I lost the Texas grant and I lost a scholarship from back home because of my mental health. I didn't meet the required hours, or just it was a mess. And that made me feel even worse because you know, as a first generation student, you feel like you have so much pressure on yourself to kind of like succeed. you feel like the weight on your shoulders is like your whole family is just kind of like dangling by a thread, and it's just kind of like, what do I do? I don't want to disappoint anybody, but at the same time I can't do it anymore. And it's just, oh gosh. Then I don't know, I didn't know what to do anymore. I thought I was at the end of that was all I could do. I thought like this strong young woman who like had worked so hard to get here like was done. I had given up. I just didn't want to do anything anymore. But luckily, like, the effector started working, and although I did lose my scholarships, it did get worse. Let me just say that it got even worse. I went through some extenuating circumstances in the summer, and I faced one of my biggest fears ever as a woman, and I'm not really gonna go that much into that, but I think after that it was just kind of like, I had spent the whole summer in bed. I gained weight. I know I'm very thin, but I had gained weight because I was literally sedentary in bed. I was not going out. I didn't know anybody in College Station, so I lived my days like just kind of in bed. And I attempted to take anatomy and physiology, but my mental health just was not there. I needed to work on myself first. And the thing is, like, I kept trying to push myself to just kind of do it. Like, there was no healing involved whatsoever. And I just kind of kept going, and I ended up withdrawing from that class once again. And it's just like, I felt even worse because here I am, like, trying my best, but I'm not at my best. So that could never be me trying my best. Yes, I was trying my best in that state, but that wasn't my best version of myself. And I think, like, people tend to, like, keep working really, really hard, and, like, it's kind of hard. I keep saying hard, but it's very difficult to do your best when you are not feeling okay, when you are not at your best self, when you literally have no motivation whatsoever. You are just gonna do like shitty and everything. That's not to say some people like can put a happy face on and go through their day and just kind of push through. There's people who can do that, but for people like me, like, I can't do that. I just shut down, and I don't want to do anything anymore. So what really, really helped me was, like, I stayed in the summer. I started seeing my counselor at CAPS, and she really, really helped me work through a lot of things in the summer, because although I like withdrew from my class, I still needed to heal and work through a lot of things that like I had kind of like avoided. And even now I'm still in the healing process. But I think having a counselor and having somebody to talk to, kind of like through like childhood trauma, your inner child, things like that, it's just so intricate. There's so many things that you need to heal from that it's just not something that you can just avoid and just kind of, there comes to a point where you just need to ask yourself, like, how much can I take? And just knowing that once you're ready, there is the help that you need, and there's people that love you, and that like it's gonna get better. I hate that phrase. I so hate that phrase, but it's true. It's the only thing that like you can hold on to, because it's not okay right now, but like it will get better eventually. And I know I hated hearing that. And sometimes it helps also to just kind of like validate yourself and just congratulate yourself for getting this far. Like, you made it here to college. You are doing this thing. Like, you are working through these classes. Yes, you did not get the GPA you wanted. yes, you didn't pass that class, or maybe you had to drop that class, maybe you had some outside things, but you were still here, you were still working, and you should be so very proud of yourself for that. So I mean, the medication eventually worked for me, and along with like the counseling, it was really, really helpful for me.